Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Ethereum Classic's price chart, and what we talked about in the previous video seems to be playing out rather nicely. Why? Because if you remember, the last time that we talked about ETC, we were actually around the highs in here, and the idea was that odds are this is a correction structure, and after it's over, we are going to get yet another move on the downside in order to take this low. And at that point, let's see what is going to happen to this one down here. If we take the lowest low as well, then okay, at that point, we are going to say this pattern on a higher degree is actually an A, B, C flat structure. And here are the subwaves. This can be A, B, C up. Before that, we are having an A, B, C on the downside. And this can be a 1 correction for wave 2, probably a flat, strong move down into wave 3. I'm gonna say now probably a triangle into wave 4, followed by another move on the downside into wave 5, which on a higher degree, again, these are the sub waves for a flat structure. So as you can see, we still haven't taken the lows, but I think soon, probably in the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to have another move down in order to take them. Why is that? You see, the current move on the upside starting from the lows, I think we can all agree that does seem quite slow and choppy, and between our pullbacks down, we are able to identify overlapping of the waves, meaning what? These are actually the characteristics of a corrective movement, suggesting after it's over, we're gonna have another move down, and we can consider two different kinds. For example, if you want to consider a triangular structure in here, then okay, you can argue from this point, this is A, this is B, C, D to about here, and this can be 5 down into 1 correction for wave 2. And what's next? Yup, another move down into wave 3 for 5, which on a higher degree, I'm really hoping that is going to be into this wave 5, and our correction in ETC is going to be over. Can we have another count? Yes. You see, you can argue, excuse me, that maybe as opposed to having an A, B, C, D, E, a triangle, this is going to be just an A, B, C, or maybe a WXY in form of a double zigzag. Honestly, it's not really that important. And then this is this initial phase, followed by a correction for wave 2 to about this point, another move down into wave 3 correction for 4, and once more the conclusion is the same, meaning probably we're gonna see another move down in the short term into our wave 5. But this scenario suggests that we're not really going to get that much of a deep move down, and somewhere around the current areas, probably just a bit lower, our move down, hopefully in ETC is going to come to an end. And for now, I think we shouldn't really focus on which one of these counts in like very short term is happening. I think one way or the other, we need to be a bit patient and see a move down, and then if we get a very strong bounce back, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, without a lot of overlapping of the waves, in order to especially take this important high around $22, you know what, fair enough, that can be like a really optimistic sign, suggesting we probably have hit our final low. What you do not want to see, on the other hand, is actually a very slow and choppy move on the upside in order to also take this important high. So you see, taking this high is not necessarily going to be like a very bullish sign. No, in what manner are we going to take this high is actually the key that is going to determine what's next in ETC. If we get a very slow move up, a correction structure, at that point, you are going to see me talking about two different counts, but the same conclusion. Scenario number 1 suggests this is a flat, but it's into a wave W, correction for wave X, and we can have another move down into our wave Y. Scenario number 2 suggests that this is, excuse me, like an A, B, C structure on the upside, this whole move, and one way or the other, after this is over, we're gonna have another move down, but on a higher degree, it's gonna be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, here's a very important point. Both of these scenarios suggest that our move down, according to this count, in case we see a very slow and choppy bounce back, is going to continue. However, I don't really think that we're gonna get like that much of a deep move down in ETC. Why is that? Let's go around this area. Okay. You see, whenever you are having a very strong initial phase down, and followed by that a pullback, you need to actually see how deep this pullback is going to be if you want to have a decent idea of how strong the next move after it is going to be. For example, if we get a very deep pullback, and in terms of retracement, we managed to retrace to about the 78% level. Okay, fair enough. At that point, we can say there seems to be a balance between bears and bulls, meaning what? If we are going to have another move down, it's not going to be that much of a strong move, since again, we do have a balance between them. On the other hand though, if we see a strong initial move down followed by like very shallow pullback in order to, I don't know, let's say retrace to around the 50% level, okay, that's not going to be a good sign, suggesting bears are quite powerful, meaning what? The next move odds are is going to be quite a deep one down. And let's go on ETC and see what is going on. Let's say one way or the other, we are going to have a move down in order to take all the lows and even the lowest one down here about 19 bucks. At that point, you are going to see me talking about a corrective movement starting from the highest high up here around $26. And as you can see, in this whole pullback up in form of a correction structure, at that point, we are having a retrace to about the 90% level almost, meaning what? In this whole region, there is actually a balance between bears and bulls. And if we are going to continue our move down, it's not actually going to be that much of a deep move. And for example, we may very well take the lowest low down here about $19 area, but we're not really going to go a whole lot lower. And this correction at that point, you can argue that it's just going to take some time, which I completely understand. It is really annoying, but you know what? This is the crypto market. You need to learn to deal with these structures because this market does have a habit of shaking you out of your trades. And when you are out of the market or you lose all your money, it actually does the move that you expected to do. So overall, I'm going to argue in Ethereum Classic, our move down probably in the next 24 to about 48 hours is going to continue a little bit, but then we are going to get some sort of a bounce. However, the bounce itself is not really that important. Let's pay full attention to the shape of it because that is really going to determine what's next. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in ETC. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.